This is Geometry Unit 9, Lesson 3 on inverse trig functions. Now, when we talk about inverse trig functions, what we use them for is to find an angle when you know the trig ratio. So basically, we're going to work backwards using what's called the inverse function. So first of all, let's look at what we have here. We have the sine of 31 is equal to x. So what this is asking is, what is the sine value ratio when the angle is 31 degrees? Well, that's pretty easy. We just grab our calculator. Sine of 31. Okay, enter. That's about 0.5150. So sine of 31 is equal, x is equal to 0.5150 is equal to x, because when the angle is 31 degrees, the ratio of opposite to hypotenuse is 0.5150. Okay, x is equal to the cosine of 42. This says when the angle is 42, the ratio of cosine is what? Well, let's see. That we just put in our calculator. Cos 42. Cos 42. And that's equal to approximately 0.7431. Approximately. 0.7431. Approximately. Okay, so those are when we know the angle. Now, notice this one. It says sine of x is equal to 0.829. So what is this equation asking you to find? It's asking you to find the angle whose sine is 0.829. So you have the ratio, you want to find the angle that goes with that. All right, so how do we do that using the calculator? Well, to find x, we use what's called inverse sine. On your calculator, it looks like this, sine inverse of x. All right, it looks like that. Now, you may also see it on other applications as arc sine. If you use it on your Desmos graphing calculator on your laptop, it would be arc sine. All right, so if we have sine of x is equal to 0.829, to figure out the value of x, what you have to do is do sine inverse of 0.829 is equal to x. All right, so what you're looking for to find inverse sine is when the ratio is 0.829, what angle is that? Now on your calculator, this is what you do. You use inverse sine. Now you notice the sine button right here, right above it in blue, is sine inverse. That means you have to use the second key. So second sine, and there's the sine inverse, it comes right up on your calculator, 0.829. 0.829, and it's approximately 55.996, so about 56 degrees. All right, so x is approximately 56 degrees. So when you have the ratio and you're trying to find the angle, you have to use inverse sine. That's the value. So you have to use second and then sine on your calculator, and that will find it for you. So let's try some more. All right, this one says solve for x. Tan of x is equal to 1.35. So we want to find the angle whose tangent is 1.35. So since this is tangent, we have to use inverse tangent. So tan inverse of 1.35 is equal to x. You should write this on your paper so the person grading it knows how you got the answer. So go to your calculator, you press second and the tan key. Make sure you hit tan, so it's got this on the screen, and then you put 1.35 and close your parentheses and then press enter. All right, and approximately to the nearest degree, it's approximately 53 degrees. So x is approximately 53 degrees. Okay, now notice this was a decimal. This one is a fraction. Cosine x is equal to 2/3. We want to know the angle whose cosine is 2/3, or 0.66666. But the calculator will do the fraction for you. So we want to find cos inverse of 2/3 is equal to x. The angle whose cosine is 2/3 is what? You press second cos, and there's the cos inverse, and then you just put in 2/3, 2 divided by 3. Close your parentheses. Notice the whole fraction's in parentheses, so we're good there. And press enter. So it's approximately 48 degrees, rounded to the nearest degree. So x is approximately 48 degrees. Okay. All right, x is equal to sine of 85. Now, do we need to use inverse sine on this? No, because we have the angle. Because we have the angle, they just want to know what's the ratio when the sine is 85. So that, you just put in the calculator as you see it. Sine 85 is 0.9962 approximately. So x is approximately 0.9962. Okay, so there we go. All right, and then sine of x is equal to 25. All right, so this one we want to know the angle whose sine is 25. All right, so we should use the inverse sine of 25 is equal to x. All right, now let's look what happens when we do that. Second sine 25. Oh! This is not allowed. Value entered is not allowed in the function or command. The error is the domain. All right, what that is telling you is that you can't use that value of sine. Well, why not? Let's think about this for a second. The sine of x is equal to 25. Now, if you look at that table of values I have, what was the highest value of sine? This is an error. The highest value of sine that you can have is 1. So, sine can't be greater than than 1. If you try to do any value that is greater than 1, it will not work. All right, so the sine value cannot be greater than 1. So that's why that one is an error. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so important part about this, you have to know whether you're looking for an angle or if you're looking for a side. So based on that, you have to know how to do this. All right, so let's try a couple of trig ratios. Use trig round to the nearest hundredth. The cosine of 72 is equal to x over 14. All right, so we are looking for a side or an angle. Well, if we have the angle here, we're looking for the side. So we put this over 1 and cross multiply. X is equal to 14 times the cosine of 72. This is what you put in your calculator. All right, so 14 cos 72. Now notice that looks just like what's on my paper. Enter, and it said round to the nearest hundredth. So you go to 2 decimal places, and then 1 past that, so it's 4.326. So this is going to change to a 3. So x is going to equal 4.33, and that's x. That's your value. Sine of 38 equals 12 over x. Put this over 1, cross multiply. X times the sine of 38 is equal to 12. All right, so how do we solve for x? Well, you have to divide by the sine of 38. So x is equal to 12 divided by the sine of 38. And then put this in your calculator. 12 divided by sine 38. There we go. Press enter to the nearest hundredth. This is going to be 49. This is a 1, so that makes that 19.49. So x is equal to 19.49. There we go. Okay, now this one. Cosine x equals 3 over 7. What are we looking for in this one? Well, we are looking for the angle. So if we're looking for the angle, what do we have to do? We have to use inverse cosine on this one. So we have to do cosine inverse of 3/7 is what angle? Is x. All right, so to the nearest, or excuse me, we have to use cos, second cos, 3 divided by 7. And this is going to be 64.62, because it said round to the nearest hundredth. X is equal to 64.62 degrees. So there we go. That is my value. So when you're using trig values, if you are looking for a side, you give the angle use the angle that's given and just cross multiply and solve. If you are looking for an angle, you have to use inverse sine, cosine, or tangent, depending on which one you are looking at. So basically, it's just practicing knowing if you're looking for a side or if you're looking for an angle.